My name is Jade Rivers. I'm 33 years old, and I work in finance in Portland, Oregon. Despite having a solid career, I've always felt that I never quite measured up in my father's eyes, a man who demanded not just success, but perfection. Every year, our family hosts a reunion at the end of June, an event attended by relatives and my father's friends. But this year, I felt more uneasy than ever. No matter what I achieved, it never seemed to be enough for him, and this year's gathering felt like yet another opportunity for me to question whether he was ever truly proud of me. Still, I had prepared a gift I hoped would change everything, a brand new Mercedes S-Class, equivalent to a year's salary. I had saved diligently to present it to him, hoping it would make him see that I had achieved success, not for him, but for myself. Would this car make him see me differently? Would this gift make him realize I'm not just the weak daughter in the family, but someone capable of achieving greatness? I thought I might see pride in his eyes, but deep down, I knew I would still fall short of his expectations. Yet, in my handbag that day was something even more valuable than the car, a document I never imagined would unveil a horrifying truth. I grew up in a stately old house in the elegant Belmont Hills neighborhood of Portland, where towering trees lined the streets, gentle breezes rustled through aged red-tiled roofs, and granite-paved roads reflected the afternoon sun. Each morning, soft golden light filtered through my bedroom curtains, waking me in a tidy room with cream-colored walls and floor-to-ceiling bookshelves filled with old law books my father had spent his life collecting. My father, Marcus Rivers, was a powerful figure in Portland's legal circles, a renowned attorney with a career that commanded respect. He led every meeting, his deep voice resonating in conference rooms like thunder. He revered the law, viewing it as the sole measure of value and honor in our family. He expected all his children to follow that path. My two older brothers, Connor and Liam, were born to please him. Connor, calm and sharp, always topped his law classes, participated in mock trials, and carried himself with the confidence of a rising star in the legal field. Liam, 2 years younger, possessed the energy and decisiveness of a future politician, capable of persuading crowds with his words and sincerity. I was different. As a child, while my brothers accompanied our father to important meetings and lavish gatherings, I was pushed to study rigorously at home. He never asked me questions like, "What do you want to do?" or "What career are you interested in?" Instead, he looked at me with disappointment when I brought home a B+, while Connor and Liam were praised for their outstanding achievements. I vividly remember weekend afternoons, sitting quietly in my study room, gazing out at the meticulously trimmed garden, while laughter and conversations echoed from the living room, where my father entertained guests, discussing major lawsuits or Liam's election campaigns. I once tried to share with him about financial projects and tech programs I was passionate about, but he merely nodded and changed the subject, as if those things were insignificant compared to law or politics. As I grew older, the differences became more apparent. I chose to study finance and technology, a world full of volatility, challenges, and constant innovation. I spent hours in the university library, immersed in books on financial models, programming, and tech startups. I took on various part-time jobs, from financial assistant to investment consultant, to support myself and gain experience. But all my efforts and achievements seemed invisible to my father. He didn't invite me home for family gatherings, didn't inquire about my work, and even forgot my birthday. Whenever I called to share a new career milestone, he responded with challenging questions. Is that sustainable? Does it truly honor our family name? I used to cry silently in my bedroom, wondering if I would ever gain his acceptance. That feeling was like a fierce storm, washing away my confidence and making me doubt myself more than ever. But then, I realized something important. I couldn't live my entire life trying to please someone who couldn't see my true worth. I couldn't let his rejections and cold stares become barriers preventing me from moving forward. I decided to forge my own path. I would build a career not to prove anything to my father, but to affirm to myself that I deserved success and happiness. That became the driving force behind my relentless efforts, overcoming prejudices and failures, until I made my mark in the world of finance and technology. Have you ever felt like you're living in someone else's shadow? Like you're walking a path that's not your own, just to satisfy someone who's always critical and never pleased? Eventually, I realized that my value doesn't lie in others' perceptions, but in what I create. And I would never allow anyone, not even my father, to dim that light. My mother, Evelyn Rivers, was the complete opposite of my father. Before marrying a legal mogul like Marcus, she was an art teacher, a gentle soul with creativity and a quiet passion for paintings and colors. In her younger days, she loved helping students discover themselves through each brushstroke and canvas. But when she stepped into the grand house filled with powerful voices and endless debates, she gradually became the mother and wife bearing the weight of a family where fairness and love were always imbalanced. Evelyn wasn't strong in the conventional sense. She didn't shout, scold, or rebel. Instead, she became a small bridge striving to span the deep rivers separating family members. I recall many afternoons, as a child, when my mother would quietly sit beside me, gently holding my hand as my father's reproaches echoed through the walls. She whispered comforting words, trying to soothe my pain without daring to oppose the powerful man. She lacked the courage to stand up to Marcus, knowing that such battles would only make the household atmosphere more suffocating, and who would ultimately suffer. During family dinners, when my father sternly judged me or even my mother, Evelyn could only bow her head, forcing a worried smile, trying to maintain peace while silently enduring. She often retreated to her small room with an easel and unfinished paintings, the only place she could breathe, where she could be herself without the family's pressures. Once, I saw my mother standing by my father's office window, her eyes following him through the glass, sometimes filled with sadness and fatigue, as if weighing love against resignation. Evelyn once told me she hoped that one day things would change, that my father could love all of us without discrimination. But as years passed, that dream seemed increasingly distant. I silently thanked my mother for her quiet perseverance, a silent bravery unseen by others. She wasn't one to fight loudly, but she kept the family's flame from extinguishing, even if it flickered weakly at times. From a young age, I learned one thing clearly. My father, Marcus Rivers, had a specific mold of success and career he expected from his children, law and politics. My eldest brother, Connor, shone as a renowned lawyer, and my younger brother, Liam, a promising young politician, both following the family's traditional path. But I, Jade Rivers, didn't fit into those molds. Instead of following the familiar path, I ventured into the world of startups, specifically financial technology, fintech, a field full of novelty, risks, and uncertainty. I remember the day I decided to enroll in an MBA program focusing on technology and innovation. A choice my father outright dismissed as a waste of talent and unworthy of the Rivers lineage. I vividly recall evenings in my room, the warm light from my desk lamp illuminating dense pages about startups, financial markets, and blockchain technology. Each line, each new business model I studied made me feel like I was finding pieces of myself: freedom, creativity, and ambition. Every time I shared my budding projects, plans to build an innovative financial platform to help young people access capital more easily, my father would just shake his head, unable to hide his disapproval. "You're playing with unreal things, Jade. That's not the path to uphold our family's reputation and power," he said harshly, breaking my heart. But heartbreak didn't mean surrender. Each judgment, each disdainful glance fueled my determination. I knew that to escape my brother's shadows, to prove my true worth, I had to walk my own path, despite opposition from my powerful father. I began dedicating most of my time to meetings with startup founders, immersing myself in challenging and intense pitching sessions. I accepted working tirelessly, from morning until late at night, testing ideas, building networks. I sank to the floor, my heart constricted by the truth that had just been unveiled. Why had he hidden this? Why conceal a part of his own flesh and blood? And that child, the one who received the affection I never had, did he even know I existed? My gaze turned blank, but within me, a fire ignited. A new battle was beginning. Part of me screamed at the injustice. Another part saw this as an opportunity to turn the tide, to finally bring justice on my own terms. This discovery felt like a punch to the gut. All my efforts, all my pain, seemingly ignored in my father's game of power and prestige. But now, I'm no longer the obedient daughter who silently endures. I will wield this truth as a weapon, not just to protect myself, but to reclaim the justice I deserve. But it wasn't just the secret of the illegitimate son. I also stumbled upon emails, messages, and notes between my two brothers, Connor and Liam. Undeniable evidence that they had been secretly collaborating, deliberately creating obstacles to hinder my career advancement. They were afraid, even terrified, that my success would overshadow the perfect image their family had built, the proud Rivers lineage of esteemed lawyers and politicians. Every plan, every tiny scheme was meticulously documented. From delaying project approvals, pressuring investors, to spreading baseless rumors to tarnish my reputation in the startup finance world. I felt stabbed in the back, not just by my cold father, but by the very brothers I once trusted most. The sense of betrayal cut deeper than any wound I'd ever experienced. Anger surged within me, but so did a newfound strength, a drive to rise, to seek justice, to demand accountability. As I began piecing together the fragments, another shocking truth emerged. The illegitimate son my father had hidden for years wasn't just a stranger. He was the co-founder and CEO of a major rival startup in the finance industry, the very person I'd spent my youth competing against. Every market confrontation, every investor meeting, every step in building my company, I thought I was battling outsiders, never realizing that my greatest enemy was a family member I never knew existed. This betrayal didn't just wound me, it fueled my fighting spirit. The feeling of being deceived, of having my personal space and even my bloodline violated, now became a powerful motivation, not just to stand firm, but to defeat the enemy within my own household. I was no longer alone. I had to use everything I possessed, knowledge, resilience, determination, to shatter the facade and prove my true worth. The party unfolded at a luxurious mansion atop Portland's hills, overlooking the city shimmering under the night lights. Large glass doors opened wide, allowing warm golden light from inside to blend with the cool evening air. The living room was lavishly decorated with sparkling crystal chandeliers, casting reflections that created an ethereal, sophisticated ambience. The sounds of a piano and violin intertwined gently, providing a backdrop for the whispered conversations of the elite, men in elegant suits, women in glamorous gowns, gliding past each other in a dance of power and prestige. Soft laughter mixed with biting whispers, scrutinizing glances, and gossip about relationships and hidden agendas, all painted a picture both enchanting and rife with pretense. I stood in a corner, observing everything as an outsider. The dazzling lights couldn't mask the coldness and calculation in everyone's eyes. In this opulent space, every smile had meaning, every story had a purpose, and I knew, the night didn't just conceal the darkness outside, but also the deep secrets within each person. Amid the lively atmosphere of the party, as the crystal lights sparkled and classical music echoed, I approached the banquet table, where Portland's most influential faces had gathered, investors, business leaders, and members of the Rivers family. Not a shiny box or a glittering material gift, but in my hand, I held a small USB drive containing secrets I knew would astonish everyone. I gently placed it in front of my father, Marcus Rivers, then spoke with a firm, unwavering voice. This isn't a trivial gift, but an opportunity you can't ignore. It's a strategic investment plan for a public partnership with Horizon Capital, the rival startup your illegitimate son is leading. Immediately, the room fell silent. All eyes turned toward us, then rippled into waves of murmurs. Marcus's forced smile turned into a confused and angry expression. My two brothers, Connor and Liam, also turned, their eyes filled with surprise and a hint of fear. I knew they understood this was an unexpected blow, not only shaking the family's stability, but also dismantling their plans to suppress my career. I stood there, saying nothing more, letting the heavy silence envelop us. The flickering lights reflected off the remaining wine glasses on the table. Marcus stood up, his face serious, eyes sharp as if trying to pierce through me. His voice, cold and striving to maintain the authority he had built over the years, asked, "Jade, what are you doing this for?" He asked, each word like a sharp dagger. "To destroy the family's reputation. To invite hatred upon yourself. What do you think this will bring besides chaos?" I held his gaze, unwavering. "You can deny everything I say, but the truth can't be hidden forever. Your illegitimate child, my brother's attempts to hinder my progress. This isn't chaos. It's the truth I must reveal to restore justice." Marcus sneered, a laugh devoid of joy. "You always think you're right, Jade. But don't forget, in this world, reputation is the only thing that keeps a family together. You're threatening that stability." The anger and disappointment in his voice made the atmosphere suffocating. I realized this wasn't just a confrontation between father and daughter, but a clash between two worlds. One of power and prejudice, and the other of truth and justice. The luxurious ambience of the party suddenly froze as I stood up, holding a thick envelope, my eyes filled with determination. Everyone slowly turned, the shimmering lights illuminating surprised and curious faces. I took a deep breath, my voice resonating in the grand room, enough to halt all whispers. Some secrets are kept not to protect the family, but to conceal betrayal and dark schemes. I opened the envelope, pulling out the documents I had discovered, records of my father's illegitimate child, emails exchanged between my two brothers, deliberately hindering my advancement to preserve the family's reputation. My father, Marcus Rivers, has hidden a secret for many years. An illegitimate son who holds a significant stake in the rival company I've been battling in the finance industry. My two brothers, Connor and Liam, not only knew but also secretly collaborated to suppress me, fearing that my success would overshadow their legacy. The banquet hall fell so silent I could hear each guest's breath. Their eyes shifted from surprise to shock, then to a mix of astonishment and confusion. Marcus tried to maintain a calm facade, but the panic within was evident. Connor and Liam stood frozen, their eyes avoiding mine and everyone else's. This moment isn't just the peak of betrayal, but also the most crucial turning point in my life. I'm no longer the overlooked daughter, but the one holding the scales of justice, unveiling the truth and reclaiming fairness. The power of truth, revealed at the right time and place, is a weapon that those who hide cannot withstand. As soon as I finished speaking, my father's eyes, Marcus Rivers, turned cold, sharp as knives. His facial muscles tightened, and his voice, once full of authority and confidence, now emerged with anger and a hint of despair. "Jade, you're hurting this family with baseless accusations. Our family is built on respect and tradition, not your cheap political games." But the collapse was unstoppable. The image of a perfect, powerful, and dominant family shattered before everyone's eyes. Connor, the eldest brother who always held the heir role in our father's eyes, stood silently, his face pale, eyes avoiding mine. Liam, always confident in his political path, forced a strained smile, but their composure was clearly shaken. They weren't just shocked by my reversal of the situation, but also visibly afraid of the exposed secrets. The chaos in their eyes said it all. The family's power had long been built on lies and concealment. The guests, mostly elites and business partners of the Rivers family, fell silent for a moment, followed by whispers of astonishment and admiration. Some offered me respectful glances, recognizing that not everyone has the courage to stand up and expose the truth amidst such powerful forces. An elderly guest, a longtime partner of Marcus, whispered to someone nearby, "This girl. She doesn't just have intelligence but also admirable bravery. Perhaps it's time for old values to be challenged." In that moment, I felt a strange sense of liberation. The pain of years of neglect and betrayal faded, replaced by pride in my inner strength. I was no longer the overlooked daughter, but someone who had regained control of her life, exposed falsehoods, and reclaimed justice. I also felt the loneliness, looking at my father and brothers, the ones I once loved most, but who had inflicted the deepest wounds. Amid the chaotic glances of the guests, I saw the light of a new future where I no longer had to live under the family's shadow. Immediately after the truth was exposed, the atmosphere in the banquet hall quickly shifted from surprise to chaos. The members of the Rivers family seemed torn by conflicting emotions, the long-hidden stories now erupting uncontrollably. Sophia, the youngest sister and the only one who had always silently supported Jade, stood up with a trembling but determined voice, affirming that while their father and brothers might underestimate Jade, she had achieved everything through her own efforts, and the family could no longer live in lies. Some acquaintances from outside, who had witnessed Jade's relentless efforts in the finance and startup industry, began to speak up in her defense, confirming that she deserved respect. Conversely, Connor and Liam, instead of directly refuting, resorted to sarcastic remarks, accusing Jade of destroying the family's image out of personal selfishness and failing to understand the value of tradition and unity. Jade's father, Marcus, became more resolute, his voice full of scheming, asserting that the family wasn't a place to expose dirty private matters, and that Jade was harming the family's honor. If she didn't know how to preserve dignity, she would have to pay the price. The argument grew increasingly intense, with some members hesitating, torn between protecting the truth or preserving the family's image. Private calls occurred continuously, accompanied by the sound of debates echoing throughout the space. Jade's mother, Evelyn, overwhelmed, cried silently outside the yard, helpless in the face of an unprecedented crisis. The long-standing conflicts being unveiled nearly tore the family apart. In that chaos, Jade felt a profound loneliness, a feeling both painful and liberating. She realized that she couldn't expect everyone to immediately acknowledge the truth, but the most important thing was that she was no longer afraid or silent. Jade also understood that this division was the first sign of a profound change, a transformation where, from the ashes of lies, truth and justice could emerge. Right after the story of the Rivers family and the explosive unveiling of the truth went public, local media quickly turned their spotlight onto Jade as a symbol of courage and justice. News outlets, newspapers, and social media platforms began relentlessly pursuing her for interviews, eager to dig deeper into her challenging journey and the secrets unearthed from within what once seemed like an unshakable dynasty. Jade became more than just the daughter who dared to defy family pressure and expectations. She became an inspiration to countless others, silently, enduring the same kind of oppression. At first, she felt overwhelmed and anxious by all the attention. But gradually, Jade realized this was her chance to share a message about truth, justice, and the strength of resilience. Through each interview, she opened up more about her deepest emotions, the wounds she had endured, and how she found the strength to move forward. Her story became more than just a righteous act of revenge. It was a powerful reminder of the importance of facing the truth head-on and relentlessly fighting for the right to be respected and seen. This wave of public support helped Jade redefine her identity in the eyes of the community. She was now a symbol of breaking free from the chains of the past and moving boldly toward a future of freedom and hope. After all the emotional turbulence and drastic family shifts, Jade's relationship with her mother, Evelyn, began to slowly transform for the better. Evelyn, who had long stood silently between conflicts, caught in Marcus's shadow, became more open, gradually understanding and bonding with Jade. Together, they began to rebuild their relationship on the foundation of honesty and mutual respect, facing the consequences of the past side by side. The household tension began to ease, and even her two brothers, Connor and Liam, slowly started to acknowledge Jade's strength and capability, though they were still hesitant to change their perspective entirely. The most unexpected development came from Jade's evolving relationship with Marcus's illegitimate son, the one she had once seen as nothing but a rival. Rather than continuing the battle, they found common ground and discovered the power of collaboration in the highly competitive finance world. Together, they began developing new projects, leveraging their deep knowledge and extensive networks. This partnership not only opened doors to major opportunities in the industry, but also marked a healing step toward mending old family wounds. For the first time in many years, Jade felt seen, not just by society but by her own family. She was no longer dismissed or overlooked, but embraced as a full person with dignity, strength, and value. This was a new chapter in her life, one where justice wasn't just demanded, but built upon the foundation of truth, respect, and familial reconciliation. After all the storms, I made the decision to rebuild my life and career on the pillars of honesty and authentic values. I realized that success no longer meant chasing approval from those who had once doubted me, but living in alignment with who I truly was, pursuing goals that held deep meaning for me. I began to redefine my career path, focusing only on projects and opportunities I believed could create real, lasting impact in the financial world, not just chasing fleeting fame or profit. I placed integrity and transparency above all else, crafting a personal brand rooted in sincerity and credibility, attracting like-minded partners and colleagues. In my personal life, I also learned to set firm boundaries with family members, maintaining a healthy distance to protect myself without closing the door completely. I found peace in accepting the past and walking forward with strength, no longer bound by old wounds. With each step, I came to understand that true worth isn't determined by lineage or outside validation, but by one's resolve, honesty with oneself, and the ability to create change through passion and talent. This is my story, a woman who stood up, started over, and became a source of inspiration for others seeking success and true happiness. The power of truth and the courage to confront it are the most essential keys to breaking free from old chains, from limits we once believed were unbreakable. In my journey, facing and accepting the painful truths about my family, its secrets, and its betrayals, became the starting point for finding freedom and real strength. Truth isn't always easy or gentle, but only when we dare to look it in the eye can we free ourselves from the pressures, prejudices, and toxic relationships that have held us back. Courage isn't just about demanding justice, it's about choosing to live your life on your own terms, regardless of what others expect or judge. At the end of this journey, I want to share something important. Life doesn't always go according to plan or to the expectations others set for you. Sometimes, you'll face painful truths, even betrayal from the people closest to you. But it's in those dark moments that you can find the power to change your story, to write a new chapter filled with hope and freedom. The lesson I've learned is this: never let anyone else define your worth. Be brave enough to face the truth, to own your pain, and to use it as fuel to grow and build the life you truly want. Family, love, and career aren't always perfect, but you can create something meaningful when you choose to respect yourself and walk the most honest path possible. If my story speaks to you, if you've ever faced similar struggles or are searching for a reason to rise again, I invite you to subscribe to this channel so you won't miss the stories that matter. Together, we'll face the challenges and uncover the strength within us. Thank you for listening and walking this journey with me.